got a few friends who, we talk about reading and writing with, but it's a very small amount of people. So I really just needed to try to find other people that I could nerd out with.
But I mean, just having that support, because like art is so draining, especially when you've devoted your life to it.
But it has been useful for that because we can kind of extend the community to readers. And that's cool, right?
And this is such a challenging art. All art is challenging, but like writing a book is not something you can do over a weekend. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Person Behind the Pages, the show where we get to know the people that make the things we love. I'm your host, Nicholas W. Fuller, and I'm joined today by not one, but two guests, Josh Walker and Scott Palmer. How you doing, guys?
Very well, Nicholas. How are you this morning?
Really well.
I'm doing good. Good to talk with you both at these crazy hours across different sides of the planet. It's amazing that we're able to do this. So we're here to talk today about the Break-ins, which you two are co-founders of, and I'm excited to get into talking about that. Of course, I'm also a member, which I'm even more excited about. But let's start with like introductions. Let's start with you, Josh. We've already talked with you on my live stream, which has been great fun. But for people that haven't watched it or people that need a quick refresher, Josh, who are you? Like, and how are you out in the writing world right now?
I'm Josh Walker. I am the author of The Rest of the Gods, which is a prequel novella to my series, The Song of the Sleepers. And the first book comes out in June called An Exile of Water and Gold.
Nice. Exciting. Looking forward to that. Scott, tell the folks who you are and what you're working on.
I am Scott Palmer. I am the author of the Last Ballad series, the first installment of which is coming out the end of this May. It's called A Memory of Song. It's an epic fantasy series. It's pitched as Braveheart meets a Game of Thrones. And it is just about in its final stages. I've just finished part 1 of copy edits, and it's right around the bend. We're almost up that mountain.
That's exciting. That's super cool. Yeah, so you're shooting for late May. Josh is shooting for June. I'm shooting for June. We're going to have some exciting times there.
And actually, I was just talking to our friend Isaac, and he's shooting for middle of May to the end of May too. So we're going to have a bunch of stuff coming out right at that time.
Nice. That's exciting. Yeah. It sounds already though, like Scott, like you're much further along in the process. I've got to go. I got to hustle. As soon as we get done talking here, I'm going to start typing. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was I spent some extra time. Like my editor was a bit slower. She was newer, and she allotted herself an extra like 3 to 4 weeks above industry standard. And I was just okay to take that because obviously it's hard to find a good editor that you vibe with. So I was like, let's do it. And her times are improving as we move forward, so that's good too. But no, she's been great.
Such an interesting thing to even talk about it, like the editor, and kind of really gets into kind of just starting to touch the tip of the iceberg of challenges of being like a new author. So, and that's all that the Break-ins about. So, but let's talk about, what is the Break-ins? Josh, you want to start us off and kind of just tell the audience, what is the Break-ins? Seeing this hashtag online, what is it about?
Yeah, look, I mean, like, I actually recently wrote an article about this, which you'll probably hear about more later, but for me, it's just mates. Like that was the primary goal. I think when I first met Scott and we started talking, was just to kind of get a bunch of mates on board who were all dead serious about publishing and trying to do it as best as we could. And that's that's kind of been the primary purpose. Obviously, we've been able to leverage it recently for some other things like promos and giveaways and stuff, but that was never kind of the first intention. I think first and foremost, it was just to kind of, get us into a community.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. And obviously you, Josh, and you, Scott, are the two co-founders. So, and how did this start, Scott? And like, how did you guys get going? What was kind of the vision too, when you began?
Yeah, I remember it was, I had just made a Twitter X account. And it was probably like maybe 2 weeks, and I was just going through. And I actually, the first thing I did, and I've given this advice before, but as a new author, if you're trying to connect with people, I would give the advice of finding an author who's well connected on any platform, any given platform. Click on who they're following, and just start going down the list and follow all of those people. Obviously, one of the people that Ryan Cahill was following was Josh Walker. And I found JLW Rights under that list of people. And however it happened, we added each other, and I was just posting stuff. I was posting my map and just, hey, I'm publishing. Look at me, into the void. And Josh just reached out to me. Hey, man, I'm doing the same thing. Let's be friends. And that's essentially what it was. The first thing I was like, I kind of checked him out a little bit, as people do.
You're right. Yeah. Make sure he's not a serial killer. I understand. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And Josh had like an incredible website put together, and everything about him was just neat and put together in the same fashion that I was trying to do. And because I was doing it myself, I understood the effort that it took. And I was like, okay, this guy's putting the same effort as I am. And I think Josh said that it was finding people who are dead serious about it, that you can just, because like all of us this is every day for us, right? So it really helps to have a group of people that are really as dedicated. And, you know, especially with the time difference, sometimes you're getting messages at weird times of the day. And if you're not like really into writing, I mean, you're not going to be like those. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I love answering any questions about writing that I can answer. Yeah. I mean, it definitely helped.
Right.
We were all very dedicated, but I think that was the thing. And then, like I said, once we started chatting, we were just like, hey, do you think it'd be beneficial to get a couple other people, and we could kind of maybe start a little support group? And then I think Josh had the idea to start a Discord. I was like, yeah, I was familiar with Discord. I was like, I can absolutely help you run that. I know how to do that. I've done it. So we did that. And then I think we mentioned it before the chat. We just found a few names of people who had maybe one book out or were just releasing a book. And we just built the courage up, and we're like, okay, you ask this person, I'll ask this person. And it was as simple as that. Nobody said no. So that's one good thing. Yeah. It showed kind of, okay, maybe other people are interested in this.
Right.
And it was just, I think Josh hit the nail on the head. It was just mates getting together. It's really what it is, with similar interests, you know?
Yeah. Similar interests. All of us want to write books and get books out. And everyone too is debuting either last year or this year. So 2023 or 2024.
That's right. So we're all pretty new to the process. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Love it. That's cool. That you guys messaged together that way. I love too that you guys didn't even really know each other like before all this, because it does seem like you guys kind of, I mean, it seems like you guys know each other longer. So, but I think that's, you know, book nerds, just we get book nerds, you know. But
100%.
Right. Who was like the third person that joined? It started with the two of you. Who was the third?
I think it was Callum. Yeah, it was Callum. Because we actually, Scott and I were discussing whether or not we should post publicly and ask if people wanted to join.
Yeah, that's
and
really
we decided we would. And we only really got one bite back, which was Callum. Yeah,
that's right.
And, you know, he's great. He is a man of little words, but everything he says is just like pure concentrated wisdom. You know. Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. That's so the third person joined when you guys made a post asking if anyone else, and then kind of later on you guys are like, hey, you know, I wonder if we can invite these other people. And you guys were kind of like, we were talking before about how you were sort of almost nervous to be asking these people, right? And you're like, because you feel like they were kind of, I mean, I don't know, like Adrian's wonderful, but I feel like he's on another level than I am. You know? Right?
It's scary. Like, I think we've got a tendency sometimes to put everyone on a pedestal, and for good reason, because these guys have all made names for themselves in different ways. And Adrian was definitely the one that I was the most tense about. But he was just so nice, you know. And it's weird, you know, like I said to him, man, I've been listening to your podcast for ages. I can't believe we're just chatting now, you know. And it's like, well, that's not really what it's about, you know. Like, he's there to be an author, I'm there to be an author. Let's just hang out and you know, talk, you know. It's great.
Yeah. That was kind of, my experience, my entry into the break-ins was super fun. What happened to me is, you know, I've been doing these interviews for a while, right? And Adrian actually reached out to me, like late-ish, like I think beginning of fourth quarter last year. And he says, hey, I have this book coming out and like, I'd love to be on your show. And I was like, really? Like, really? and like, because I've been listening to his podcast for so long, it was super cool and very flattering. But then, we got into talking, and I saw him making posts with the like hashtag the break-ins, and I was just asking like, hey, what is this the break-ins, kind of, as it was just like, it seems like it's a group of writers. He's like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. You want in? I was like, what? Yes, yeah. Awesome. Like, yeah, it was so nice. Yeah, it's been super cool. Yeah, like you said, kind of just having mates, having other people that are kind of going through this process, because it is a process. There's it's it's so easy to kind of crack open a book and read it, but let me tell you, there are so many steps between getting to the idea and working on it, and even writing it, even finishing the book, towards getting it to where someone can actually crack it open and read it. And that's the part that's so nice, to have a bunch of other folks going through the process to talk about. So that's kind of my take on like why some of this is important. But I'd love to hear from each of you too, like why did you want mates to begin with, and how has it been like helpful to have this group, this support? What do you think, Scott? Actually, no, Josh, because you were the first one that asked Scott, right? So what made you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I can't speak for everybody, but sure, my presumption is that a lot of us do tend to have some kind of maybe like melancholic tendency or introverted kind of tendency as creative people. I've definitely kind of grown up that way. I know not everyone's like that, but the ability to make friends easily, like I find that pretty confronting as like a thing that you've got to do as an adult, especially. In addition to that, I think also like I didn't grow up with bookish friends or writing friends at all. So all of my good friends, like they're all great, but we never really talked about books that much. I've got a few friends who, I would talk about reading and writing with, but it's a very small amount of people. So I really just needed to try to find other people that I could nerd out with and just get, advice or ask questions with or whatever.
Yep. Yeah. So Scott, same, like, kind of, why is this important? Why, were you so like glad to have mates to talk with and wanting to kind of grow it into a small community?
Yeah, I mean, stepping off what Josh just said, I thought of it in my head. It's literally like if you're into sports, like say you watch hockey or you watch soccer, football, whatever, and you're just watching it alone all the time. But you know all the players, you know all of the rules, you know all the lingo. You see the people in the stands celebrate. You're like, I just want to talk to somebody about freaking hockey,
Yeah,
and that's kind of what it was. You have to spend so much time learning craft, and then once you've learned craft, then you have to spend so much time writing this book. Then you spend all this time writing the book, and you have to spend all this time editing it. And then you go, oh, now I've got to market the book.
Right.
So it's just really like, it's just this overload of information. Having somebody to share that with and talk about it with, like I said, it's like you can talk about the football season as it's going. I'm in this stage now. Oh yeah, I remember that stage. That was great. Go for it. Like we're all just encouraging each other. Like I think, like you just said the other day, Adrian, last night, this weekend, Adrian needed help with just what platform. Guys, like, I just need your advice. Who's done this? And he can just say, Ingram, KDP, let's weigh this. And in a 10-minute conversation, we're able to kind of do that because we've all been through the different stages. So I really think that was a big thing. Having the people in staggered positions. Like Josh and I were very much like right at the exact same spot, I think, which is really good.
Yeah.
And that was like very good for our support. But like I said, having that different staggered allows us to look forward, it allows us to look back. And even in this process, once you go through one book, I'm at the stage right now, I'm just about finished these edits, and I'm getting back into drafting another book. And it's almost like a whole new set of skills you have to remember. Like, okay, how did I draft this? It was like 6 months since I, and Rob Lay, he had this issue a couple months back, and I know Louise was having this issue. Just getting started on that second book after going so hard with your marketing and everything with the first book. So like I said, just having those two and being able to look ahead, and they're a couple months further ahead, just be like, okay, no, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. And it's one thing too, because we all put, it's the nature of it, but we all project a certain image on social media, and most people don't say they're struggling on social media, right?
Yeah. Right.
where this group is really close knit, and if we are having issues, like we all just struggled with burnout recently, we can kind of have an intimate conversation about that and just be like, hey, we're not alone here. Like, we're putting a lot of mental energy and emotional energy into this, and you know, the burnout is inevitable. And I think we were talking about it, just to stem off that, we all know, and because we are so dedicated, we all want to be writing every day, or at least putting something into this every day. And that's what they all say. That's the rules. And there's definitely, as we're learning, and having a group of people really helps this, because you can mirror each other and you can see yourself in other people. But going every day, there is a difference between burnout and procrastination. So it is important to recognize when you're just burnt out, or when you're procrastinating, when you actually should be working. And I think it was having all these other authors, it kind of helps you, because it's like, okay, like some of these guys we take a day off here and there when we need it. Sometimes it's a month between each other, but it's like, okay, you know, we're all human. And like I said, seeing other humans going through this process, not just what they're posting on social media. Because like when I was going through burnout, I was posting on social media every day with updates on my work. And like, I was still working, but it wasn't like I wasn't getting across the struggle that was really there. Right. So long tangent, but I think friends are important for that in any stage, whether it's art or just life in general. And we have that, like with the break-ins, we can support each other with life events. We can support each other through big writing events. And I think that's just really what it comes down to, is support in any way.
I think that's so well said, because you're absolutely right. You know, with especially, we're all trying to break in, right? And we're all trying to kind of grow a little bit of a platform too, and like have a little bit of an audience, and have people that want to read the books that we want to go put out and the stories that we want to tell. So, you know, we kind of have to project that on social media, right? We have to, you can't get on social media and be like, oh, I'm editing my book and this is absolute shit, you know? Right? You can't do that. But we can in our little private group, because like, I'll tell you, every writer has felt that. Every writer has had that moment where they're like, this piece of writing that I just did is absolute dog shit, you know? Every writer, I bet even Neil Gaiman and Stephen King, they've probably have had those. I know George R. R. Martin's had those moments, you know? He's talked with like Stephen King. There's a little interview where they were talking to each other, and he was like, it's George R. R. Martin, how do you not like have those moments where you're, you know, you try to write and you write like 100 words and you're like, maybe I'm just not I have no talent whatsoever and I should just be a plumber, you know? And it was so
Stephen
good.
King's like, I don't have those moments.
I feel like his answer was different though. I mean, I like his approach though was like, I feel like he didn't quite say I don't have those moments. He more just said he's so focused on just like he doing the work that I feel like for him, he's not even worried if it's crap or not on stage one, you know. He's worried about hitting his word count goals, but or he just doesn't have those moments, maybe, you know.
No, I think you're right. He doesn't worry as much. George's lines he puts so much into the cadence in each line, and Stephen King's like, I care, but I mean, I want to write stories.
No, I think that's fair. But I love that, that we have that with each other now, where we can kind of, you know, have this open dialogue and kind of pull back the curtain and talk with the other folks that are going through the same stuff. It's so helpful, so nice. So go ahead, please.
I don't know if I've seen this with like other arts per se. I mean, I don't know if I've even seen it. I'm sure it happens in traditional publishing, but I can't. I guess actually, you know what? My wife said this the other day. You know what it reminded her of was the Magnificent Seven, or maybe not the Magnificent Seven. It's the painting group from Canada. It was like I'm really pulling a blank on the names, but like Tom Thompson, I think was one of them. These famous landscape artists from Canada back in the day, and they all kind of got together. The Group of Seven is what it was called, and basically they just got together and promoted each other. And it was the same kind of thing. Is like if you have social proof of any way, just a little bit of social proof. That was another big point of what our group was, supporting each other. public as well as privately, because that little bit, if you put a post out and there's your 7 or 8
Yeah.
friends all put a like on it and share it for you, that gets the ball rolling. It just shows people that, you know, like, not that like, hey, I have friends, I'm cool, but essentially that little bit of social proof. It's really difficult. I've actually seen there's studies done on this that nobody wants to be the first person to like a post. So somebody might scroll past a post, there's no likes on it, and they'll keep scrolling. They might scroll past it a couple hours later and there's 5 likes on it, and they feel okay to go ahead and engage with that, you know, interact with that. And I think that that little bit of social proof is also support, right? It's support that we needed, just to, we're not yelling into the void alone and being like, here I am. And I think like this made me think of it from that conversation between Stephen King and George R. Martin, because I think George R. Martin just needs some friends. He needs some writing friends that can be like, it's okay, George. And I think like they do have them. I've seen Neil Gaiman tweet publicly supporting him. But I mean, just having that support, because like art is so draining, especially when you've devoted your life to it. And like I know I'm on a tangent again, but having that other person who understands all the ins and outs, just like small things, when you can use the lingo and they know what you're talking about, it's just like, it's invaluable, right? And,
that's so true. And art can be so draining, and this is such a challenging art. I mean, all art is challenging, but like writing a book is not something you can do over a weekend, right?
Oh yeah.
Writing a book takes a long time, and then you have to, writing a novel is a different beast than writing a short story. Writing short stories is super helpful for like honing the craft and getting to be a good writer, but like writing a book is a different beast. And so you're like, for years probably you're focused on the craft, focused on the art, and then like, you know, when you're kind of in this position when we're at now, where we're like, okay, I'm almost done with the art, I want to bring it out in the world, then there's this whole other aspect too of the business, right? And so we're all indie writers, we're not traditionally published, we all want to and choose to kind of go and bring our stories out into the world ourselves, but that means we need to go find cover artists, we need to go find editors, we need to go like proofread the thing ourselves or find a proofreader. Then we need to do what's called interior design, which is something that an average reader never really thinks about, but it's like making sure that like there's chapter headings, right? And then like maybe you want little art with the different chapter headings, that sort of thing, you know, so that and making sure that everything kind of lays out well on the page. Then we need to go get the book over to like the printers and the distributors, whether that's Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing, or it's Ingram Sparks. Those are kind of the 2 big names out there, you know, and we need to kind of, okay, is it worth it to work with this one that's sort of a pain, or is it worth it to, you know, do we want to even go wider and like try to get on Kobo and that sort of thing, or do we focus on like being more exclusive with Kindle so that we can be on Kindle Unlimited? All of these things are factors that we have to consider as part of the business. And like, you know, if you're not in the business, then none of this is like remotely something that you're thinking about. But like, it's so nice now, right, for us to kind of have other people that are going through these same things. And like, as we were just talking about, like Adrian M. Gibson, host of SF Addicts, and his upcoming debut Mushroom Blues, he's trying to kind of, okay, like he's working on these last steps of kind of this distribution, that sort of thing, and coming to some of the other Breaking members and asking opinions. That I think is so valuable to have that. I just think so you guys have done well to bring that together. You know?
Yeah, I think it's also like it's interesting, like to have a sounding board with people, like, you know, all these small decisions. I think it's good to acknowledge that you shouldn't make these decisions yourself necessarily, you know, like you kind of need to be able to bounce it around, but people don't have the opportunity to bounce these things around, you know, and you know, if you think about it, even in terms of drafting and editing and blah, 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 you're making all these choices by yourself innately because it's your baby, right? It's your project. It's what you've put all of your energy into. So being able to talk about that with other people introduces so many things into your art that's just there to help kind of sculpt it into what you want it to become. Actually, Scott was saying something interesting before, which is how kind of we're all on like a staggered schedule of release. And I was thinking, even just like validation wise, like I remember the week that Rob and Louise put their books out, I believe it was either in the same week or a week apart from each other, but like, you know, the noise in the room, so to speak, was just massive.
Yeah.
You know, like we're all just so excited for them, and like sometimes you just need that. Like you might not get the number of readers that you want on day one, and that's okay. But sometimes you just need everyone to be able to, like, you know, give you a one up and cheer you over the line.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I think there is that tendency to kind of put so much energy and focus into this thing, and it just doesn't make a splash in the water, you know, and that can hurt, you know.
And yes.
And it's no one's fault, you know. It's the way it goes. There's so much stuff out there. There's so much kind of consumption going on, and people have to pick and choose. We've all got, you know, the problem of the never-ending TBR. But sometimes to be able to just get that, like, you know, help along, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the staggered schedule thing too, it helps that we're all taking different paths. Even though we have all this information, there's so many ways to do it. And it's interesting because you can see some of our members pivoting in their marketing strategies and pivoting in their distribution strategies, because we're indie, we have the opportunity to do that, first of all. Secondly, we're able to see all these different avenues and how they're working. And we're able to, like you said, it's almost like a taste test. You get to see other members, and like you have this close, intimate relationship where you're not just seeing their social media posts. You're seeing, like, how is it actually for you? And I don't mean to be like social media is completely deceptive, because obviously, like, I try to be pretty honest there, but you know what I mean with people don't share the
I don't think it's deceptive, but it's a partial view, right?
You're sharing the good and tend to leave out the bad. But I have seen a lot of people opening up though lately, and it's kind of like this new world that we're living in. I think people are feeling more comfortable in just saying, "Hey, I'm struggling." Like, who else is struggling? And the output is usually pretty incredible. So, I mean, to have a close-knit group, but also the larger community that our group is kind of plugged into.
Yes.
Also just incredible, right? And that actually sends to something that we talked about before that we wanted to bring up was, like, anybody can start a group like this, right? It's we did kind of close it off just to keep it intimate, but anybody is capable of just finding some like-minded people and doing it. And I would absolutely encourage it, because it's been life-changing for, I think, most of us, if not all of us. Just like we've been talking about, the support is invaluable. And even if we can just, as a writing community, just all band together. And, you know, I think we are as part of a larger community, but even starting these little tribes within, I don't see any harm in that, as long as we're all you know, good with each other. Don't any beef. There's no reason for that. But I don't see why we can't just everyone can just help each other, and that's kind of how it is in this this industry. And that's, again, like I said, I don't see in a lot of other arts. The writing community is just so supportive, and that might have been part of the reason why it was when we were asking people in the beginning. I think especially Adrian. I think he really wanted to give back. And though it did seem like you said, you get these different views of people and you put them on pedestals, and like Josh said, that's very rightfully earned. But when it comes down to it, they are just people. And especially most of the time, they're just doing the same thing as you. And though he was farther ahead in the podcast game and in the community, he was still at the same point in writing his book. Yeah. Which gave us that connection. And it just kind of shows you, like, people connect over different things, whatever stage they're at in their life, right? But having that thing, and again, I'm on another tangent. I think we woke up too early.
No.
Anyways, you know,
no, good.
Each one of your tangents have been absolute gold, and I don't think they're tangents. Yeah.
But it's been great for me, and like, I just know, even at something as simple as you see like a funny meme on and you can share it with the group. You know, just know they're gonna get it. You know. Or like, maybe I'll share it with my wife. She won't necessarily understand. She hasn't read Way of Kings, you know?
Sure.
So, like, anyways, it's really nice to just, and that we're all readers too, right? So we can bounce different stories.
Readers first. Yeah, absolutely.
Kings of the Wild. It's just, you can share different things. And, you know, just even what I like to do is take different things from books. They're my biggest inspiration. So I'll take often situations and plot, character situations, character traits, and I'll just reform them and shove them right into my world. Just change a couple things, and I really liked the way this made me feel while I was reading it, and just reshape it and put. I think that's a lot of what writing is, you know.
Absolutely. What's that quote? Like, all artists borrow, but the best artists steal.
That's right. Yeah. No, that's essentially what it is. Yeah.
So I love that point you were making about a kind of, people should do the same sort of thing. And I agree. I want to get back to that, but I want to briefly kind of also talk about, our little group has been cut off, right? So we've got 16 members. Of course, it's Scott, Joshua, myself, Callum Lott, Rob Lee, Isaac Hill, Louise Holland, Caden Love, Adrian M. Gibson, Sam Paisley, Brian Wilson, Andrew Watson, Jonathan Weiss, Francisca Liliana, Nicholas Church, and ZS Diamante. So that's 16 members of our little group. Let me first ask, why, I know you guys kind of left this out, to a little bit of a vote with the group, but why did you decide to cut it off, and why, where you did?
Josh, you want to take that one?
Yeah.
Or... Yeah. I think there's multiple kind of aspects to answer that question, and the number one answer that I've got is that we all decided on it together, right? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just Scott and I that decided on that, and that's really important because, first and foremost, the group was for each other. So, but I think actually, I don't know who said it. Someone said it. It might have been Sam, but I don't want to say that if it wasn't. But somebody did mention at one point that we had something good going, and it felt like we all connected really well, and there is kind of that innate danger of letting it become just another Discord, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And it's true, and we didn't want that. I think we're all pretty keen to kind of fight for the dynamic that we have. So that was kind of the idea behind it. And I think it's worth considering for anybody who wants to set up a small community like this, right? Don't let it become that. Let it be what it is, and use it for what it is, and lean on people and have them be able to lean on you, and vice versa. Yep. That's very powerful. But the second you've got, 20, 30 people in the group, and, you're forgetting who said this and forgetting who said that, and you've got all these sub threads, and at the end of the day, this Discord, the technology we're using to get together is a virtual way of getting in a room together and banging out ideas. So, the second we start to make that bigger, it starts to take away from, I guess, the power of what we have initially, Yep.
Yeah, that was well said. I think the greatest thing Josh just said was it would start to take away. It's already enough to try to keep track of 15 different people and their projects and what they're doing. I mean, even at the beginning, Nicholas, I didn't even know what genre you were writing in for 2 weeks. So it's definitely a lot. And now obviously we're further into it. We all we're familiar with each other's projects and blah. Sure. But yeah, like you said, if you just keep adding in, we've already got enough going. I mean, I even struggle to read 2 fantasy books at once because
I'm the same.
I want to be in one world, right? I'm already in my world writing. Yeah. So if I'm going to read 3 fantasy books at the same time, it gets difficult for me. And that's just kind of just trying to keep the mind straight and fresh. And I think that was the most important thing, was that because it was kind of kept more intimate, I think we all felt hey, I feel very comfortable here. Mm-hmm. And it's the more people that are added, the less comfortable I feel. Because now I've opened up to 15 people. You know how hard it is to open up to somebody and show your heart to people, right? And now you've done it to 15 people, and then somebody else comes in and you're like, well, I've already opened up to these people. Do I need to open up to this person now? And then 10 more people come in, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm not opening up to these people. And and that's not to say those big Discords are incredible sources.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure many people have met through those,
Yeah.
But it was just this was kind of, I think, and Josh and I weren't hey, let's start something different. But I think we kind of realized a few weeks in, oh, this is a little different. This isn't your kind of traditional join my Discord thing. It's kind of more an intimate group. We're really trying to build friendships here, right?
Right. No, I think that's super well said. Like, yeah, there's a ton of different writer communities out there on Discord. Shout out page turners, love that one.
Yeah. Oh,
But
love page turners. Yeah.
Right.
Bo and Bert.
But right,
Yeah.
Poe and Bert.
They're
Yeah,
just killing it.
but I feel like they provide a different thing. You know, where like it's a great community. It's fun to talk with a bunch of people. It's like the difference between like it's more of a cocktail party, you know, and you're kind of bumping around. You might kind of, but you're not really gonna spill your guts out in the middle of a cocktail party, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
And like
Yeah.
the other thing
Right.
with there's only 16 people in the group, I can get really invested in everyone's success, and I can get really, you know, behind everyone, and I can go and like, you know, share the social media posts of all the 16 people when they're doing something, you know, particularly cool, especially like a new release or that sort of thing. If there were 200 people, that's ridiculous. You know,
Yeah.
you can't do the same sort of engagement that you can do with just this tight group. Not to mention too, like I have an in-person critique group where there's just 4 of us, and like I tightly guard that. For literally the 4th person that joined, I met her in another writing group, and I was like, I talked to her separate and was like, yeah, I have this other writing group, but like, let's talk first. I interviewed her to join like my little writing group, you know, my critique group, but it's worked out, and like, it's a nice dynamic. But you like, yeah, you have like for a critique, especially, it has to be people that you trust and you kind of respect. And they also have to have the time. It's a big ask to ask someone to go and like critique a whole novel, right?
It is. Yeah.
So it's nice that,
you want to trust them. You got to trust that, like, I can actually trust this person's opinion. And that comes from knowing them intimately and knowing I know the work you've put in because I see it day by day. And then it's like, I can trust to ask this person a question. I'm going to get a good answer. Not just like, I searched it on Google, because I'm sure I know I look stuff up on Google before I ask you guys.
Right.
I can't find it, you know. Or sorry, Sam likes to use Bing. So I'll keep it, you know, either Bing or Google. We'll look it up. And if we're having trouble, sometimes it's just easier to be like, hey, do you guys know what's going on here? But
yeah,
right. But I think you said that great, Nicholas. The cocktail party.
It's also like the cocktail party idea, and also like, you know, look in the corporate world, right? Like that idea of like, who do companies service, right? And like, look at someone like Apple. And the community that Apple kind of services is entirely different to the community that a startup services, right? And a startup actually is usually there to service on the interior, right? Because that's how you grow. You've got to build a culture first. And so I feel like what we've been doing is we've been building this culture, and that's what we've got now. Like we all know each other. We know how we work. We all know that we're available for each other. We also don't feel the commitment, right? Like in bigger groups, sometimes you feel that like overload of commitment. Like some days I won't check the Discord. Other days, other people won't check the Discord. That's fine. You know, like, but like people will reply and people read it, and you can private message each other, and, you know, it's great.
And if you really need to get a hold of somebody, you just at them, and it'll send them a notification. And I've never been not responded to when I've added somebody in the Discord. Like you said, we can't expect people to check it every day and keep up with it. That's just too much to ask. But there's conversations happening. If you want to jump in on the conversation, you're more than welcome, right? That's kind of thing. And especially if you have something to add. Oftentimes I'll be reading and I don't have anything to add. So I just don't need to add. I don't need to, you know, add my voice to the conversation and muddy it up because I don't, or it's already been answered, you know. So it's kind of nice, like you said, I think having that, and I think that stems from the smaller community as well, because when it's bigger, you're worried, like, is everyone ignoring me? Nobody likes me. It's kind of at this point where I think I actually looked it up. We started it like, I think it was late October, if not November. So we're really not even 3 months into this yet. Really
crazy when you put it like that.
Because the relationships that we formed feel like they're a lot deeper than 3 months. And I think we've all touched, I've heard more than one of us say this, but it stems from this we all share, we've all been through a thing. I don't want to say trauma, but this is like trauma patients tend to connect in the same way. When you have this shared experience, that's something just so big, this shared life experience that just completely consumed you. It's so intimate, It's an intimate piece of art, and just having the other people that have been through the same thing, we've just connected so fast, because it's kind of just like, it just really wipes out all of that get to know you stuff, because you're like, I understand your character because you've done this thing that I did. And I know all of us along the way have met many people that didn't get to the point where we're at. Just meaning like they couldn't finish the book or whatever, for whatever reason. And not everybody has the same goals. Sure. And I'm not saying like you have to finish a book if you start, but I just mean it's nice when you find people with the same goals aligned.
Yeah.
And it's really just that, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I completely agree with everything you're saying. And I agree with the points that you were making too, of like, you know, if you're an author and you're out there and you don't have kind of some community, then think about starting one. Think about starting your own little small community, like just a small group of people that are in a similar space of where you're at. You know, whether you're just starting to write your book, or if you're like finished your book and starting to bring it to market, or if you've like, I know Zach Argyle is in a writing group too, where his writing group started with a few people that had a book or two published, but they all wanted to go full time. So now there's 6 people in his writing group, and they talk, I think, every week. And then every week they have 2 of them have to bring 2,000 words that they critique, and they're helping each other out that way. You know, like whatever structure kind of works for you, you know, but find those people that are going to kind of be in your corner and have your back and help you out. If you're an author, like, look for that.
Big time.
Anything to kind of add to that, Josh, in terms of, you know, like encouraging other authors to start a community, or any tips on how to do it?
I mean, you just have to reach out. Like, it's uncomfortable. I think it's important to be comfortable with things that are not comfortable, right? Like that's how you grow as a person, for a start. Doesn't mean you have to do it all the time, but I do think that we just have such a strong tendency to be trepidatious about reaching out, because this art that we are pursuing is innately something that is like very close to us. You know what I mean? So, you know, we're looking for an audience, but first and foremost, we're always doing it for ourselves. That sounds very selfish. I don't mean it to, but there's that kind of, you know, that process of like cathartic release, of like getting it out on the page. There's always a purpose for it before it hits the reader, and the reader is secondary to that, and they get to choose how to participate in that as well. So, but at the same time, it doesn't just have to be you, and that's something that's really been, you know, huge to me to see, because especially with the novella that I put out, like a lot of you guys were able to read it before it came out, and everything you said was indispensable. You know, it was great, and you were able to share stuff that you liked, stuff you didn't like, and it just gave me that kind of boost, that like validation. Okay, yeah, I can write something that doesn't suck. I can write something that hopefully someone will like, but also it seems to have done what I needed it to do for myself first. And also I've now learned some things that I can fix up, and I don't have to feel bad about that. You know, it's great.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I don't think it's selfish saying that you're writing for yourself. I mean, because if you're writing for other people, that kind of feels dirty, doesn't it? Like, do you really want to? I think the best authors we connect with, you're trying to put a piece of yourself into something, and hopefully somebody will see themselves in the piece of yourself you've put into your work. That's kind of the way I look at it. So it's definitely, writing itself is a selfish act, but putting it out is the part where it becomes, you got to let go of that. But then you just go on to the next selfish act, which is your next draft. But I think I've even heard our buddy Neil Gaiman talk about that, that first draft is yours. That's your selfish piece. That's what you're allowed to be selfish with that, and really get what you need out of it. Like we've been talking, this is kind of like consumes our lives. This is what we've dedicated ourselves to outside of our families and our full-time jobs. And it has to have some meaning, or else why are we doing it? And if you're not getting something out of it, I would encourage you try and figure out even what you want to do. And there's probably, if you're not getting something out of it, there's probably something else that you will get something out of. But
and it's worth saying as well, like what you were mentioning before, Scott, like we're putting in like overtime here. Like, you know, like this is kind of like nearly a whole full-time job on top of whatever else we're doing. We're
Yeah.
not getting paid for it, and that's not necessarily the point.
Yeah.
But the point is that you can't go that alone. Think
Yeah.
about the kind of support systems that you have at work that
100%.
help you get through the day to day. You know, why are we trying to do this by ourselves? It doesn't really,
No,
it doesn't add up, right?
very well said, Josh. That's a great point. Like you said, you get to come home and you talk to your friends, you talk to your spouse about just your day. What happened? This person made me angry. This, like you said, why can't we have the same thing for our hobby / second job?
Right.
Yeah.
And with people that deeply get it too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They understand the lingo and they know the people, like, you know, and you can talk about the beef on Twitter.
Prologue skippers, what the so we've talked a lot about kind of, you know, starting this community and what the community means for us, encouraging other writers to start the community. I think that's all good. We're also talking about now, you know, kind of bringing that book out into the world, which I think is a great segue into talking about how, you know, if you're a reader, of course writers are readers too, but if you're a reader and not a writer, definitely this is something I want you to pay attention to.
Yeah, like I said at the start, Scott and I never went into this with the intention of leveraging the group for marketing. But it has been useful for that because we can kind of extend the community to readers. And that's cool, right? Like knowing that that Scott or myself or you, Nick, or, you know, Sam or anyone could have some of the same readers that are kind of like interested in these different facets of the genre is really cool. And know that they came to us through the same means, right?
Yeah.
Literally, like, we've got some people in Canada, in the US, in Europe, in South America, in Australia, like almost every continent. It's amazing the way that we've brought all this together in the break-ins. Yeah.
I think that's actually one of my favorite parts. I think it actually blows my mind, even with this interview, with the time difference with you and I, Nicholas and Josh. Like, it's amazing. And it's like we're talking like we're in the same room, but we're oceans apart. And even Nicholas and I, who are on the same continent, are very far apart. We're almost on two separate ends of it. So it's incredible. You can bring a community like this together, because this is really like a benefit of the time we live in.
Yes.
And I think maybe this is why this is somewhat of a new phenomenon, like writers teaming together. Like I said, I haven't, at least publicly, haven't seen that in traditional publishing, where like there's a group of trad, even under the same traditional label. Like you don't see like the Orbit crew getting together. So
but I feel like you should. It's a shame that you don't, you know?
Like there is that, like Josh said, we didn't get together with the idea of leveraging a group for marketing, but it's incredibly interesting that you can, because on my newsletter, I've got people from Australia, people from Europe, like all over the place. And I don't know if I got them from Josh or Louise or Jonathan, but somehow people from Australia are seeing my stuff. And that's just incredibly interesting. And vice versa with Josh across here. And just that you can connect across the world, it makes the community really feel like one. And the bookish community really does feel that way, doesn't it? Like it's I mean, there's the beef every once in a while, but I don't feel like a lot of that is, I feel like a lot of that's external.
Yeah, I agree.
There's like a very tight kind of thing, and like everybody's just so great. Like we're all bonded over the same thing on a larger scale than the break-ins. We're all readers, right? And even like the break-ins are all authors, writers, but just the larger reading community is incredible to be a part of. And I think,
and
like,
on that as well, like I've been thinking about this recently. Like as a kid, and I'm sure you guys have had the same experience as like a young person, kind of growing up. You look at writers that you aspire to, and like you kind of crave to get close to them, like close to their intellect. And there's guys like Neil Gaiman, right, who just was just at the forefront of kind of my mind for years and years and years. And, you know, his writing's changed my life. And, you know, guys like Pat Rothfuss and Brandon Sanderson, these guys are approachable on a global level. You know, like I learned so much from Brandon's free lectures, as most people have these days, right? And like, there are so many great authors that you can't get close to. They don't interview, or you don't see like much of a presence of theirs, and that's okay. You know, like that's fine. But I do think that there's an extent to which it really pays off on a big level for readers to be able to see us as people and feel like they can interact with us. And like the group's been good for that as well, you know. Like everyone kind of knows the hashtag now. So it's like, you know, if you use the hashtag or if you see the hashtag, you know that like it might be related to Sam or it might be related to Louise. It doesn't matter, right? We're all vastly different writers, but there's an in now for readers to be able to access us. And that's something that as a young person, I really wanted more of. But there were only kind of a handful of authors that stand out in my mind that I was able to access.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really does leave an impact. Like I remember I reached out to, it was R. Scott Baker, and just on his website, he had a contact me thing. And I reached out and I could not believe when he responded to me. I was like, oh my God. Like, and then I just read all of his books. It was like, this guy's talked to me. Like he just, and it's again, the age of, that my generation growing up with like these untouchable celebrities, right? Like you think media, the way that it's pumped forward is that these people are untouchable, but it really has become integrated, because even the traditional authors in the community, like Mark Lawrence, very approachable. I asked him to use a quote for my epigraph, and he was incredibly nice. He was like, yeah, I can't let you do that. A bunch of copyright stuff. If you had a book out and I could prove that you weren't racist, I could definitely let you do that.
Sure.
Right now, I don't know who you are. You don't have a book out. I don't know what your book's about. So no, you can't use it. And it was a really long message, like really, really long. Like he took 10 minutes, maybe 5.
Yeah.
He's probably the best typer. But you know what I mean? Like, he actually took the time to respond to this guy who asked to use a Jorg quote, or Jorg, however you want to pronounce it. And I think it's great. And then even with our friend Caden Bold Love, just tweets out
Dr.
to
Love.
Abercrombie, right? And Joe Abercrombie responds, yeah, have at it. You know, and I just think that's so great because, and like you said, Nicholas Eames, he's just approachable. He was just made himself like, I'm going to respond. And I think most of the authors especially the indie community are like that, but it doesn't just extend to that. It's like, and that just kind of goes to the way that we started our group. If you're wanting to get close to these people, I would absolutely encourage just reach out. The worst thing that can happen is they say no or they don't respond, and then you're in the same position you were before. You've lost nothing. Like it's not like Mark Lawrence didn't know me before, and now he still doesn't know me. But now it's like Mark Lawrence didn't know me before. Now he's talked to me now. You know, even though I didn't get, like what I asked him for, just the connection and the approachability was worth a lot. You know. Just saying like, yeah, I'm here. Like I write these books, but I'm also a person, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that about, you know, our modern technology and how it's made people more approachable. I remember getting a like on a tweet from Lin-Manuel Miranda on Twitter, and I was like, oh my God. You know,
wow.
Right. But yeah, like, but I do think that indie authors in particular, like, we tend to put like authors on this like giant pedestal and they're untouchable people, but like indie authors especially are not, you know, they're very approachable. And like, if you go out and go tell the author that you love their book, you're going to make their day, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely gonna make their day. So what are the plans for the break-ins in the future, guys? You know? Yeah.
We don't have hard plans, I don't think.
No.
Stuff that we've been throwing around some rough ideas and stuff, but one of the things, obviously, like we're not going to be breaking in forever. Obviously, by the end of 2024, all of us will have books out, and hopefully, anyways, but we should all have books out.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Multiple books. Right. I mean, Zach he's going to have 3 books out.
Yeah.
So I mean,
we're
hardly breaking.
Jonathan as well. Yeah.
Exactly. We're hardly break-ins at that point.
Right. So
obviously, like right now that the hashtag kind of worked because we're trying to get in, but there's definitely, I think we've got some loose plans. We want to try to give back to the community in any way we can, and we're just talking about some things behind the scenes in that way. I don't want to say too much right now and put the pressure on us that we have to get it done, but I think the plan, at least what I would want to do, is try to help people in the same way that we helped each other. Whether that be putting out self-publishing information or just being a place where new authors can inquire and just ask questions. And I don't know how that would work, but we'll get there. Either way, I think giving back is very important. because of how we've been received through the community.
Yeah.
I don't see why. I'm sure just the community would love to have more people in the same mindset, just people who are serious about writing and reading books. So if we could somehow facilitate that in the future, I would absolutely love that. That would be incredible. I would love to. Like I said, it's just about giving back, in my mind.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, our friendship, like, I hope what we've created will be a lifetime thing as we move through our careers, right? So obviously, there's the personal thing of just
absolutely
a really nice group that we can leverage for all these different things that we've talked about today.
Yep.
Yeah,
you're stuck with me, Scott. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, I think you saying that just means I'm saying the right stuff. So.
Yes. Anything you want to add to that, Josh? Any ideas or hopes for like kind of the future? Or, Scott summed it up pretty well.
Yeah, like, I mean, Scott covered it really well. I think, look, keep an eye on the giveaway website after the giveaway ends, because we're hoping to do some things to give back, potentially on there, but we're still discussing it. And but that's got to be the ultimate goal. Is like, what can we do now to kind of mentor where we can people who need that help, and also what can we do to keep supporting each other? Because that's number one, right? Like, number one is support each other. That's why we started it. That can't change. If we delineate from that objective, we're not doing what we set out to do, right?
Yeah.
So that's got to be number one. But we'll try to do some cool stuff. Like, we've been talking about, kicking around a few ideas for some short stories and stuff like that maybe we can, get onto in the next kind of year or so. But no solidified plans yet. But obviously, you'll keep hearing from us, and there's going to be so many cool books coming out. So.
Yes.
Yeah, including yours, Nicholas, and Scott as well. No, it's going to be wonderful.
Yours? Yeah,
it's going to be a good year, honestly.
Oh yeah, It's already been a great year, to be honest. It's been fast paced and action packed, and
not even in the third month, and we're just like
right. No, but I agree with you. Yeah, big year, 2024, big year, especially for the break-ins. All right, so perfect segue too. Like, where can people find and follow us online? Josh,
do you want to go first, Scott?
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think we've all got our own personal pages. Like, I'm S. Palmer author on basically everything. But we do have our break-ins landing page, which is just thebreakins.com, is it not?
Yep, thebreakins.com.
Breakins.com is kind of our joint spot where we've got our, like you said, we're running our giveaways through there, and our competitions and any future things that we're doing as a group will be through that website, and then we'll just share it on our individual pages. I don't think we've talked about making a break-in social page, and I don't know if we need to do that anytime soon, but I think it works. We have our kind of main hub, and then we all just share it through our own avenues, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Josh, where can people find and follow you online too, sir?
Yeah, so Twitter on at jwalkerwrites, Instagram at jlw.author, and my website is joshuawalkerauthor.com.
Perfect. Of course, you guys know where to follow me, right? nicholaswfuller.com, my website. You can find all my socials, my YouTube, everything there. Definitely information about my upcoming book. You can follow my Patreon for free, and I'll definitely be having more information about my upcoming book on the Patreon for free. But yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for sitting and chatting. Thank you for starting the break-ins also. I appreciate it. As a member, it's definitely impactful, and I appreciate it. So
I'm glad it worked out the way it did, honestly.
Yes. All right. And thank you for watching. Appreciate you hanging out. Definitely go and give Josh, give Scott a like and follow. Check out thebreakins.com. Check it every once in a while. Just add it to your routine, right? Facebook, Reddit, whatever. Thebreakins.com. And if no one's told you yet today, you're an absolute legend.